Hello beautiful peeps, I'm Chris from TechSpert, and this bad boy right here is the Realme X50 Pro, a fresh new flagship premium smartphone from Chinese manufacturer Realme. Now I've featured a lot of the company's budget blowers in TechSpert in recent months, and they've all been excellent value for money, and it looks like this premium flagship device is no different. You get some incredible tech packed in there, including the latest Snapdragon 865 chipset, you get 5G support, you got 90Hz display, all kinds of clever shenanigans going on in there, and all for about half the price of Apple's most expensive iPhone, which by the way doesn't pack 5G or half of the clever tech that this does. Now the Realme X50 Pro is going to go on sale across Europe from April time, starting at around the €599 mark. So I'm going to take you on a full hands-on tour of the hardware, the software, so you know exactly what to expect, and hopefully bring you a full review very shortly. Now first of all, I've got to say I am really liking the design here on the Realme X50 Pro. It's a 6.44-inch beast, so it's definitely a bit of a handful, that's for sure, but I do love the Gorilla Glass finish on it with this lovely matte style in here on the back, similar to the OnePlus 70 and OnePlus 70 Pro. So even though it is Gorilla Glass 5 front and back, it does actually look like it's got a sort of shiny metal chassis around the rear end. And yeah, this device does get a little bit smudgy when you've been handling it for a little while, but nowhere near as bad as a lot of these shiny flagship smartphones, and the coloration helps to hide the worst of those greasy prints. This is the rust red version of the Realme X50 Pro. You can also pick it up in moss green, and I'm just going to read you a brief excerpt from the actual Realme press release about the colours and the inspiration behind them. Low key and restrained as it is, the colour scheme has its uniqueness, making people feel more secure. It is inspired by the unknown material in outer space, mysterious and deep. It emits a gleam in the depths of the universe waiting to be discovered. Just like the red rust and the green moss, which are easily overlooked in nature but only to be discovered, the veiled beauty with the time fleeing when you take a closer look. I mean, frankly, I don't think I've done it anywhere near enough justice. You really need someone like Patrick Stewart with real sort of gravitar behind them to really sort of give that some proper oomph, I think. Anywho, the X50 Pro certainly has a decent heft to it, so yeah, you'll certainly feel it when it's stuffed away inside of your pocket, and the rest of the design is fairly straightforward stuff. You've got a bit of Type-C for charging, you've got your SIM tray down there, no headphone jack unfortunately, as you will notice. Now the X50 Pro has a built-in display fingerprint sensor, as you can see there, so just a quick tap of your digit is super nippy. Only takes about a quarter of a second to actually unlock your device, which is very cool indeed. Definitely one of the swiftest ones out there. You've also got full face recognition support as well. Just a quick tap of that power button and it'll immediately recognize you. Again, one of the fastest out there to rival the likes of Samsung, Huawei and Apple, definitely. And you've got strong security on there as well. As you can see, if you dive into the face recognition section of the settings, you can set it so it only recognizes a face if the eyes are actually open. And you've got auto brightness compensation options, auto raise to wake, and you don't have to swipe in order to actually unlock the device. As for the rest of that screen, well, as I mentioned before, it's a 6.44 inch. It's a Super AMOLED display as manufactured by Samsung, so nice and bright, nice punchy colors in there as well, though again if you dive into the settings and go to the display section, you'll find you can completely customize it. So it's set to vivid by default, but you can stick it back down to gentle if you prefer more natural, easy on the eye hues. And you've got a refresh rate topping off at 90Hz as well. It's actually stuck on 60Hz by default, but you can also get the Realme X50 Pro to auto select. You've got a bit of variable refresh rate dependent on what you're actually doing with the phone at the time. Very clever stuff. It tops off at 1000 nits, so on that maximum brightness it is absolutely eye-searing. You'll definitely have no trouble seeing this in any kind of conditions whatsoever. And of course, because this is a Samsung manufactured display, you've got full support for HDR10+. So good news if you want to get a bit of Netflix or something like that, and they go a nice deep contrast, as you can see there. And it's a 180Hz touch sampling rate on here as well, so great news for any mobile gamers. You want to do a bit of PUBG or something like that on the go. It'll mean every poke swipe, whatever you do, is instantly recognized and you get that response immediately. Great stuff. And it's also a stereo speaker setup here on the Realme X50 Pro, so let's just bump up the volume to max.
Well, you got another thing coming, boyo, because it also announced that on March the 26th, the P40 and P40 Pro will be officially unveiled, and a massive...
Yep, that is certainly pretty damn loud on that top setting. Nice clear audio coming through. You don't have to worry about like muffling the speakers with your thumbs or fingers when you're clutching the thing, and full Dolby Atmos support as well, so whenever you're kicking back with an atmospheric movie, something like that, hopefully that'll really shine through. Now this unit right here, what I'm clutching in my hand, is unfortunately an early unit of the Realme X50 Pro, so it is running gen Android 9, but the retail unit will come with the latest, freshest Android 10 straight out of the box. And what you've actually got on here as well is the Realme UI rather than ColorOS, which is what Realme tended to go with in the past. It's actually very, very similar to ColorOS. You'll find quite a lot of the same features packed on there. It'll look very familiar to any ColorOS fans. You've got the smart services, convenience tools. You've got the likes of the game space as well, which just helps you to manage your resources, things like that, when you are going to get a bit of gaming on the go. You've got full dark mode action, of course, even though this is an Android 10 yet, so that was actually built into the Realme UI itself. And as you can see, the standard sort of Android 10 navigation gestures as well, which is great to see. So you can go back home to the quick flick, or you can flick back like so. And thank God there is a one-handed mode as well, which you can quickly access with a quick flick down from the center of the bottom edge there. And as you can see, then all of your apps will then work in this mode, so that's great stuff. Should definitely help out with an absolute beast like the Realme X50 Pro. Come on. There we go. And yes, this is one of the very first smartphones to come packing Qualcomm's latest Snapdragon 865 platform. Now, I've already done a full in-depth look at the 865, including all of the great new features packed inside there, how it's an improvement over last year's 855, and I've done full benchmarking as well, which is just as well because this early unit won't actually let me install Geekbench or anything like that. So if you want to know more about the 865, go check those out. The good news is that here on the Realme X50 Pro, it's backed by either 8 or 12 gigs of RAM, so it should be a silky smooth performance. Certainly seems super nippy, helped along by that 90 Hz refresh rate, of course. And it's actually DDR5 memory on board as well, so you get faster read-write speeds, and it's more energy efficient too. Of course, none of that would be much good at all if the Realme X50 Pro heated up pretty damn fast, but thankfully you've got a multi-layer coolant system in this bad boy, including a built-in vapor chamber, so hopefully after an hour or two of constant PUBG action, it should still stay relatively cool. As for the battery tech, well, it's a 4200 mAh cell stuffed inside there, so hopefully it should keep you going for a full day between charges, no problem. You've got the usual power saving options, high performance mode if you want it as well, and the good news is it supports the 65 watt super dart charge as well. Look at this absolute beast of a charger. That means serious business right there. So Realme reckons you'll need just 35 minutes of the plug to get a full charge from empty on the X50 Pro, which is pretty stunning stuff, just as fast as Oppo's Super VOOC tech. And apparently the X50 Pro is also compatible with the VOOC 4.0 charging tech, which is 30 watts. Of course, the good news if you've got one of those chargers. And good news if you live in a 5G neighborhood, because the X50 Pro is fully 5G-ified, and apparently it can smartly choose between 5G and LTE networks depending on the current conditions and everything, and it can switch between them without disrupting whatever you're doing, even if you're streaming a bit of video, whatever it may be. And on top of that, there's full support for Wi-Fi 6 as well, so the Realme X50 Pro really is completely future-proof. Before I forget, let's take a quick gander at the storage as well. You've got a choice of either 128 or 256 gigs of storage space on there, and it's UFS 3.0 compatible as well, so super nippy file transfer. So let's finish up this hands-on with the Realme X50 Pro with a quick look at that quad lens rear camera. What you have is a 64 megapixel primary lens backed by a 12 megapixel telephoto lens, an 8 megapixel ultra-wide angle lens, and a bit of depth sensor action as well. Thankfully, the camera app doesn't absolutely inundate you with different features and toggles. You've got all the standard stuff on there, so you've got the dazzle color mode up top, which will just sort of boost those more vibrant hues if you're shooting a bit of plant life or something like that to really bring your photos to life. Otherwise, you can just knock that off if you prefer more natural hues. Got full HDR support and everything as you would expect. You can flip between the different lenses using these little toggles down here. So you've got ultra wide angle, standard, you've got 2x optical zoom, and then you've got your 5x hybrid zoom as well. So good bit of flexibility in there. The video mode, you can shoot up to 4K resolution footage, great stuff, and you've got a bit of image stabilization up there as well, which I believe only works in full HD mode. You've got that night mode, of course, which can be used to snap slightly brighter looking low light shots, and it looks like that actually works with a full complement of lenses as well, which is great to see. Sometimes you don't always get that. Portrait shots, of course, using that depth sensor just to add a nice bokeh style effect. You can shoot at the full 64 megapixel resolution as well using that primary lens. Otherwise, you can do a bit of pixel binning just on the standard auto photo mode, which just helps to, again, brighten up those shots in the more sort of ambient light. And as you can see there, a full complement of different camera features as well. Panorama mode, ultra macro modes using that ultra wide angle lens. You've got full pro controls if you need them too. And if we swap around to the front facing camera, you've actually got a dual lens setup, as you can see up there in that top corner, similar to the S10, the S10 Plus and everything from last year. And what this gives you is a 32 megapixel primary lens, which is the standard one. You can also flip to the 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens if you're trying to take a group shot, not a groupie, never use the word groupie, or if you just want to capture a good bit of background action as well. There you go, it's got the usual beauty mode, gumph and everything, and you can even shoot a bit of night action using the front facing cameras as well, which again is pretty rare actually, so at least you'll be able to get a nice looking night selfie of yourself staggering out of the pub at 3 AM with a kebab in one hand and half a bottle of Heineken in the other. And that right there in a nutshell is the Realme X50 Pro. Definitely very deserving of that Pro moniker, unlike certain other flagship phones which I could mention. So I'm really looking forward to get my hands on the final unit so I can bring you a lovely full in-depth review of this beautiful blower. In the meantime, it would be great to hear your full thoughts as well, so bung those down in the comment section below, and please do plug subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech. Cheers everyone, love you.